You can go to school at any age. There's no limit, right? I mean, I've seen people even older than I am going back to school and finishing whatever they want to do. It always runs through my mind that I wish I would have started sooner and figured out by 18, but at the same time, you know, it's what makes us unique, all of us. Each of us has our own timeline, and maybe things happen for a certain reason. Out of high school, I took a couple years off, and then I went to Langara to study. Those first few years, I was just taking random courses, but it just wasn't really leading me anywhere. And then just switched over to BCIT because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. So I was in trades, did that for a few years, and just felt that it wasn't really right for me. Trades was fun, but after working in it for a while, you can kind of see how it is and compare it to what you thought it was. And my perception at the time that I was studying at BCIT was as if it was just amazing, right? Because I was turning a hobby into work. But then after working a few years, you realize that that's like the worst thing to do, because it was more of a hobby, it wasn't a passion. And the last 4 years was basically going back to university. Now that I have my life in check and my purpose, I'm much more motivated to get where I want to go. I feel like in let's say in your late teens, starting at 18 to your 20s, you're still trying to figure out yourself. You are still figuring out, okay, what is my purpose and where am I going to go in life? But in your 30s, you kind of already know that. You just want to get it done.
Okay, I think that's it.
Awesome.
Maybe, what did you think university would be like whenever you're in high school, and how did it compare to how it actually was?
Oh, I don't know. When I was in high school, university was always kind of something that I saw myself doing, mostly because my parents were always like really into me getting into post-secondary school, but it's not something I really thought about much. Like when I graduated, the last thing I wanted to do was go right into university. In high school, I had a friend who, he had an uncle that lived in Germany who ran a therapy center. So I actually volunteered. They offered to pay for like all my living expenses and everything, and not really having a distinct plan, I was kind of like, why not just go to Europe? And like I traveled around Germany and lived there for 5 months. And UVic, I grew up in Victoria. UVic offered me an entry scholarship. And but they'd only give it to me if I went to school by the spring semester. So I cut my trip short, came home, and I kind of just went to school because I didn't really know what else to do, and I was kind of like, you know, might as well. Did a bunch of general studies. My first year I did some journalism, some sociology, and then I took an economics course that I really liked it. And so I ended up doing economics at UVic for a few years. But I kind of realized like the more time I spent at UVic, the more time I spent kind of doing, like, not that I wasn't interested in what I was studying, but it wasn't like my calling. I kind of realized like I don't really know if this is what I really want to do. And so actually during the reading break that semester, I realized like I don't belong here. This isn't really what I want to do. So that's when I actually looked into like going into communications. In high school even, or like throughout my life, I always felt like communications always, like, I mean, it's easy to say this now, but like it seemed like it would be like the logical choice back then. UVic didn't offer a communications program, and I kind of realized like I should have just gone to Simon Fraser in the first place. And like I remember talking to a few friends that I actually studied economics with, and I kind of told them like, oh, I don't see the point in graduating with a degree that I don't really want. and they were more kind of on the side of like, oh, well, we've like come this far, and like I feel like might as well, like some of them I don't even think have probably graduated at this point, and I don't think they're doing anything within economics. Ever since I made that decision, I've always felt like it was the right call. Funny story, I like made the decision, but I wasn't like 100% sure. So I registered in classes for the spring semester, and I went to the first day of school, and I ended up dropping out like the first day of school, and on my way home, I passed a construction site, and I like had worked construction in the summers, and I ran into my friend who was working there, and basically got a job on my way home from dropping out of school.
So instead of spending a semester at school, you spent a semester working construction.
Yeah.
I
Most
guess-
classic dropout.
So my mom went to Cap College, now I guess it's university now, and my dad went to SFU. And they were both highly educated, so they thought that all their girls should be highly educated. They always pressured me being like, university equals a job, but like, even though I know that's not the case, my parents would have been happy with whatever I chose, but it's not like I was like, no, mom and dad, I want to go off and do this, right? Like I was kind of like a very undecided child, I guess. Back then I was a child. So I didn't have really a decision. So if I think I went up to my parents and I was like, no, like I want to go into a trade, or like I just want to go and work for a year, and I had a plan set out, they would have respected that and been like, okay, we support you. But I didn't.
Where'd you hear about communications?
My older sister, actually. She majored in communications. I didn't want to do communications for that reason, because I didn't want to be anything like my older sister. I'm a twin sister. I have a twin, so I didn't want to be anything like my twin. I didn't want to be anything like my older sister. I wanted to be my own person. But I actually ended up being really interested in communications because a lot of it has to do with media studies, and that's my main interest. But like, don't get me wrong, the first semester of university was awful. I took 5 classes and I ended up failing one. Like, okay, I aced geography 12, so I thought, how different can it be in university? So different. So I didn't really do anything my first or second year because I didn't want to be up at SFU longer than I had to be. Like, went up the hill, went home. In the last year, I've really like tuned it up a bit. Like I got involved with the CJSF radio station. I'm the marketing design coordinator for YAB. So I did those things to try to direct myself more. I'm terrified but super excited at the same time. Like I know I'm gonna cry on my last exam. I know I am. I'm a crier. Like I'm gonna be very sad to leave SFU because like I've spent like almost 5 years here now. So like I'm gonna be very emotional. And I'm terrified to go out into the world because I know it's hard to get a job. You have to hit the pavement, you have to do your time, you have to do those jobs that no one wants to do. Because sadly, a university degree isn't what it used to be. Like you have to do more than that. Your experience counts for so much now. So like, but I'm also very excited because like, there's so much we can do. It's a new chapter of our lives, right?
The whole university experience, is it worth it?
The money? I don't know. I would say so. I don't regret any of my university experience. I've learned a lot, made lots of great friends, teachers and contacts that are going to last me for a long time. But it was mostly the extracurriculars that got me these friends. I don't know, I guess if you ask me in 6 months and if I have a job or not, like I'll give you a different answer.